Shout out to Plasti Addicto for the new intro. If you're not following him, make sure you do on Instagram and YouTube.
All right, everybody, what's going on? It is your boy Art with Toys, and I'm back with another figure review, this time on the Bandai Netflix Stranger Things The Void series Eddie Munson figure. And I'm pretty excited about this figure, but before I get into that, I'm going to talk a little bit about some spoilers. So if you haven't seen the show and you don't want to hear it, just fast forward a few seconds and get past it. I promise I won't put any more throughout the video, but the reason I'm excited about this guy is because if you watch the show this season, his character story arc was one of the best ones, and it was cool because he just got into the show. He was only in the 4th season, and if you remember, he started out as kind of a bully, kind of a piece of shit, and he gets wrongfully accused of a murder based on a satanic ritual that was really just affiliated with the group that he was in, the Hellfire Club. It was a D&D group, but the people, the townspeople thought that it was some kind of satanic ritual club. So he goes into hiding, and he befriends the Stranger Things group and redeems himself at the end. You know, he dies trying to help them save the world, and it was a pretty cool ending. Really excited to get this guy. Spoiler over. But what's funny is, if you remember the first wave, which had like Hopper in it and 11, and I remember watching Robo's, one of Robo's videos, he talked about the Hopper figure and the joints and how loose it was. So I wasn't excited about those, but then when I saw this guy, I saw a couple pictures of him pop up online, and I was like, oh, they fixed some of the joints. So the joints, especially at the upper leg there where the thigh is, you don't have that weird cut. So he looked good in the pictures, and I was like, you know what? I can't wait to pick him up. So really excited about this figure. Again, excited about the character. Just getting into the box, you have that plastic window in the front. The shape is of a Demogorgon head. In the background there, you have that red sky with the Mind Flayer. Netflix, Stranger Things, The Void series. Eddie, Bandai 2022, made in China, legalese, and then the Bandai logo. And then he's just displayed there, 15 and up. Stranger Things, The Void series, number 4 here. On this side, you have spot varnished, upside down kind of vines. And these are throughout the box. So you see them here, you see them on the front, around the edges, and then they're here, and then they're on the back. And then for the back, you have a picture of the figure. Underneath it says Eddie. And then at the top, Stranger Things, The Void series. And at the bottom, more legalese. And your barcode if anybody needs it. All right, so that's the box. Let's get into the figure. All right, so taking a closer look at the figure, we have Eddie Munson here with the Rock haircut. If you guys remember from the show, his hair was wild and a little bit everywhere. The face, it's cool. It serves the purpose. I don't necessarily know if it looks like the actor. In my opinion, the actor looks like a young Robert Downey Jr. Not necessarily sure that comes off here. And then also the skin tone is kind of a lighter skin tone, and it's all one shade. So it doesn't really bring out some of the details of the sculpt. And it's also kind of shiny, like almost as if his face is oily. So it might be good with like a matte coat finish, which might help dull it down a little bit and bring out a little bit of the sculpt there. Then one thing I want to point out, on his back, he has the Hellfire Club logo. And if you watch the show, you know that that is not necessarily screen accurate. He had a Dio rock band logo on the back of his shirt, which if you look up the lead singer of that rock band, the singer Ronnie James Dio, his hair is wild. So I'm assuming that Eddie's fandom of the band is also what influenced his haircut. So I think that's pretty cool, that little detail there. And then taking a look at the rest of the figure, he has the sleeveless denim jacket there, and then underneath he has the leather jacket, and then underneath that he has the baseball style t-shirt with the Hellfire logo on the front. So that's pretty cool. One thing I did want to point out on the denim jacket here, as you can see, there's actually some sculpting for pins. So there's like little circles there. They chose not to paint them in. And then he's got one logo here in the upper left, or his upper right. But yeah, so those are accurate to the show. It's just kind of weird that they didn't paint them in. But maybe down the road, something I could customize. And then moving down, I did, again, want to mention that this guy doesn't come with any accessories, so no change of hands or anything of that nature. So out of the box, he does have those open hands. For the pants, it looks like he's wearing like a black denim. He's got the leather belt there. And then on this side, he's got the chain. And then here he's got kind of a rag hanging out of that pocket. So that's pretty cool. Nice little details there. And then also on the pants, he has kind of rips on the knees. So those look pretty good as well. And then for the shoes, and I'll just turn off this light here so hopefully the detail will show up. But he kind of has like the old school Reebok classic type shoes on. So I'm going to cover the light. You can kind of see the sculpt work in there. So if you guys are old enough, you probably remember those shoes from back in the day. So that's pretty cool too. Again, no paint work, it's just all white. So again, down the road, it might be something that somebody could customize just to make it more accurate to the actual shoes. And then kind of a weird decision, but the tongue of the shoes is actually on the pants. So if you move the shoe around, the tongue's just gonna stay stationary. So as you can see, this shoe's kind of pointed in one direction and then the tongue is just not lined up. So kind of a weird decision. Almost, I mean, it's probably accurate to the show, but I almost feel like, just maybe leaving that part off would have been even better so it doesn't look as odd. But nonetheless, I like the way the character looks, even just in the vanilla pose. Very seamless because of the joints they use, and I'll talk about that more in the articulation. Very seamless. He doesn't have those weird cuts that the other figures had in the first wave. So Hopper had these odd cuts, so did 11. So I am glad that they chose to kind of change that for the second wave. But yeah, all in all, looking good. Got some silver bits painted in there for the buttons. And then here too, buttons. So yeah, they did do some of the detail, but they left out some of the pins. I almost wish they would have painted the pins for me, and then I could have just went in with silver paint and done the silver bits. But again, we'll see down the road. I might customize that. So that is it for that. And since there's no accessories, I guess we'll jump right into articulation. So taking a look at articulation, one thing I want to point out, so if you collect action figures and you have the, Thor or a lot of the female Marvel Legends, you know that characters with longer hair, because it's sculpted, have a hard time with head movement. What I will say here is Bandai did a nice job. So even though he has the long hair, it's sculpted, it goes down in the back and even down in the front on the sides there. He has this double joint setup from the neck to the head. So he has the ball joint that goes into the head, and then he has the joint that goes from the neck into the torso. And what that does is it allows extra movement. So the head actually will point pretty far up, which is better than a lot of your characters that have the hair like that. And then, he can obviously look down. One of my pet peeves with sculpted hair, which there's no way around it, is when you have the character looking down because of the sculpt, the hair sticks up in the back. Not a whole lot you could do with that. Actually, from the side here, you can see it really well. Not a lot you could do with that, but if you take the photo from the front, like if you're doing action figure photography, it looks fine because you don't see that part sticking up. So that's pretty cool. But again, ball into the head, joint from the neck into the torso, and then taking a look at the arms, something I want to point out here. So the arms do come pretty far up, but what I will show you is if you put too much behind it, I'm probably pushing it as far as it'll go without really gone too far, but what I'll show you is they actually pop off. So there's just a ball there, which this is cool because this ball kind of has that movement, almost like a butterfly joint. So you're gonna get that extra range of motion there, but it also like keeps you from breaking the figure because it'll just pop off and then you could just pop it back on. So I do like that. No upper bicep swivel. The elbows here have that ball hinge, so they will go up about that far. It's not the greatest, but it's probably a little less than, I guess if you put this arm down, a little less than 90 degrees. And then there is a swivel there at the elbow. And then for the wrist, you have another ball joint, so you can have like pretty much the movement that goes all the way around. So you have that roll the dice movement, you have the back and forth movement. So that all works out really well. And then for the ab, you have the ball hinge there at the top, so it will crunch down about that far. And then you have the second hinge down at the bottom. So both of them together, you get that much. So that's not too bad again. Coming down to the legs, you don't have an upper thigh swivel, but you do have this joint on a ball. So it does allow for a ton of movement there. And then for the knees, again, you kind of have that setup that's in the elbow, just a little bigger, but it gets past 90. It's not going to get any further than that. But that's not bad. I mean, you're not going to be putting him in too many dynamic poses because he didn't do anything crazy dynamic in the show. So I think that works. And then moving down to the foot, again, you have that on a hinge, so your foot kind of has like free movement. So you do get the up, you do get the down, and then you get that pivot there. And again, it moves freely, so you can kind of do all kinds of things with it. And so you can get him in various different poses, and he still should be able to, for the most part, keep his foot flat on the ground. So that is it for articulation. Let's look at a couple of comparisons and closing thoughts, and we'll get out of here. So for kicks, because I think he looks like a young Robert Downey Jr., I have him next to two SH Figure Arts Robert Downey Jr. figures. You have here on the left the Iron Man Tony's Powered Stage SH Figure Arts figure, and then on the right you have the Birth of Iron Man figure. So as far as scale goes, Eddie is much taller. Figure Arts always run a little small anyway, so doesn't really work from a scale perspective, but just thought it would be fun to throw those guys in there. All right, and here we have him next to Marvel Legends Retro Spidey and Storm Collectibles The Greatest of All Time Muhammad Ali. And here we have him next to a Marvel Legends Hydra Soldier on the Bucky Cap Buck, which is barely ever used. And we have him next to Lenny from Toy Story. And here we have him next to the Revoltech Nick Wilde figure from Zootopia and the Mezco Steel Box new Tiger Stripe Wolverine. If you haven't already, check out that review on that figure that I did a little while back. Would greatly appreciate it. And here is Eddie wearing the Mezco Ghostbusters Proton Pack, keeping with the 80s theme. And then he is next to a couple of Vigilantes. You have the Casey Jones from the NECA 2-pack with Raphael. And on the right here, you have the McFarlane Toys Dark Knight Returns Batman with the Unparalleled Universe ab modification, so he can actually move around at the torso. All right, so final thoughts. What do I think of this figure? I like him. I do think that he's missing some of the details, so some minor customization I think will take him over the top. Matte finish on the face, paint in the buttons, paint in the patch, maybe paint in the details on the shoes and add some weathering. I think the figure itself will, go up another level. You don't have to do all that stuff. He's great without it, but I think I'm going to do it. And then accessories. Super limited on accessories, nothing. He actually comes with nothing, no change of hands, no guitar or anything. So I think if I can get some weapons for him and find a guitar that kind of matches the show, I think that also will add to the fun factor. But Again, it's a great figure. I think my biggest gripes with the figure wise, and it's around the articulation, is just the arms and how they don't go past, they don't even go to 90 degrees. They're not bad, they're not terrible, but they don't go quite to 90 degrees. I should still be able to make it work for some photos, but that is one of my biggest gripes. Other than that, I think the rest of articulation works. He doesn't do anything dynamic. He's got the rest of the movement he needs to do the things they did in the show. So that's all good. But yeah, let me know if you like this figure. Comment below. Subscribe to the channel. Like the video. Check out my other videos. Check me out on Instagram. I'm Art with Toys. Over there, I basically only put pictures up of my action figure photography. So hopefully you'll join me over there as well. And everybody have a good one. We'll catch you next time. Peace.